Having worked in finance most of my life, people often ask me about their investments. I don't provide personal financial advice, so I can't really tell people what to do. But after watching people make the same mistakes over and over again, I've developed a few simple rules to make for safer investments. To our regular audience of A Rich Life and the ASX Small Cap Wrap, this probably isn't for you, but maybe bookmark it, and next time a friend or a family member asks you about what they should invest in or how to make safer investments, it could be something that you share with them. Before we get into it though, I want to explain something that I think is really important. All investing involves risk, and I really do mean all. Even if you choose to hide cash in a safe in your backyard, there's still a risk that the value of your money will be eroded by inflation. And this same rule applies to bank accounts, for example. So whether you're investing in shares, Bitcoin, US government bonds, physical gold, or Charles Ponzi's totally safe investment scheme, there are always risks to consider. So with that said, here are the 3 rules. Rule number 1, don't have more than 10% of your money in any single position. This can really hurt your returns over the long run. You could make 10 great investments, but then ruin all that by getting too excited about a dud and going all in. Sadly, I've seen this kind of thing far too often. Keeping your positions under 10% means that when you first invest, you don't want to go straight to 10%. Otherwise, you'll have to start selling as soon as it goes up. A good rule of thumb is not to invest more than 5% initially, which means your investment can double before you have to worry about managing position sizes. Rule number 2, only invest in broadly diversified ETFs or profitable stocks. I mostly stick to this rule myself. I do invest in some unprofitable companies, but these are generally small positions and I'm a lot quicker to trim them if they do grow large before the companies actually become profitable. It's important to keep in mind that I'm trying to maximize returns with my investments. I'm not trying to keep my risks low. For experienced investors, they might want to bend this rule from time to time, but if you're watching this, it's likely you should follow this rule pretty strictly. And what exactly do I mean when I say profitable? I'm talking about net profit after tax. Companies will often throw around profitability metrics like EBIT, which means earnings before interest and tax, or worse, adjusted EBITDA, which I'm not going to get into here. The point is that these aren't really profit, so you can safely ignore these numbers. Rule number 3, invest mostly in ETFs. ETFs, or exchange-traded funds, can be thought of as a basket of different stocks or bonds or other investments. Rather than buying shares one at a time, you can buy dozens or even hundreds of stocks in one go. In fact, I even know of one ETF that includes over 8,000 global stocks. These days, there are a lot of exotic ETFs that can give you exposure to themes, sectors, factors, or even provide leverage. You don't really need to understand what all these are. What you do need to know is that for most people, these should just be avoided. What you want is a low-cost, broadly diversified ETF. Here are a few examples that you might want to consider. VGS, Vanguard MSCI Index International Shares ETF. This ETF invests in around 1,300 companies from developed countries around the world, but it excludes companies from Australia. This can be helpful if you already own a bunch of Australian shares or ETFs that invest in Australia. A200, the BetaShares Australia 200 ETF. This ETF invests in the 200 largest companies listed on the ASX. You'd be familiar with a lot of the names in this ETF, names like Commonwealth Bank, CSL, BHP, Woolworths, and Telstra. The management fee on this ETF is just 0.04% per annum, making it one of the lowest cost ETFs in Australia. NDQ, the BetaShares Nasdaq 100 ETF. This ETF invests in the largest 100 non-financial companies listed on the Nasdaq Stock Exchange. So this is companies like Alphabet, the owner of Google, Microsoft, and Amazon. It does skew towards tech stocks, and it doesn't contain much in the way of banks, resources companies, or energy stocks, which can make it highly complementary for portfolios that hold a lot of Australian shares, given that the ASX skews towards these types of companies. One thing that I would flag is that the top holdings in VGS and NDQ are quite similar. This is just because most of the world's largest companies are US tech stocks. If you want to avoid this, an alternative option could be something like VEU, which is the Vanguard All-World ex-US Shares Index ETF. This simply invests in a diversified portfolio of global stocks with US stocks excluded. So those are the three rules. Limit position sizes to 10%, invest in profitable stocks or broadly diversified ETFs, and invest mostly in ETFs. Sticking to these rules isn't a get-rich-quick scheme, but it can help you avoid big mistakes, which will actually put you ahead of a surprising number of investors. If you've enjoyed this video, give it a like or leave a comment below. If enough people like it, we might make more content like this in future. Hey, it's Editor Pat here from the future. I just thought it might be worth mentioning that I did actually used to work at BetaShares. I haven't worked there in about 18 months now, and I certainly have no loyalty to BetaShares. None of the product providers that I mentioned in the video have paid us or even know that we're producing this video, so just wanted to be explicitly clear about that.